I'm about to interview Aug Stone for 40 minutes. I've interviewed numerous people for 40 minutes, but this is the first time it's been filmed, I think. I'm going to ask Aug Stone 4 questions, and these 4 questions will then be open and they'll go all sorts of directions, I hope. And this is a kind of mirror of a thing that I do when I'm being interviewed. I say the interviewer can only ask me 4 questions, but when I'm doing it, they email me the 4 questions, and there must be 4 questions I haven't been asked before. I don't know if these 4 questions are 4 questions that Aug Stone has been asked before or not, but here goes. What is Aug Stone?
Well, the name Aug I gave to myself as a 10-month-old child, somewhere around there. My given name I can not pronounce.
You can't pronounce your given name?
As a baby. I've since learned to in the intervening 39 years. But no, so when asked what my name was, I would look up out of my crib and say, Aug, and it stuck. All my older cousins called me it, my family calls me, everyone calls me Aug.
I just assumed it was Augustus.
I wish it was Augustus.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And I really like the name because I gave it to myself. And also, the chemical symbol for gold is AU, and the chemical symbol for silver is AG. So it's a combination of precious
not quite gold, but more than silver.
Yeah, or a combination of them both.
Okay. But when did you, like when you started school at the age of 5? Were you Aug then, or is this some kind of postmodern take on?
Early on, I don't remember exactly what grade teachers would say, or if you have a nickname and you want to be known as that, let us know. So my friends called me Aug, and then I gradually told my teachers, and by age 10, I was always referred to as Aug at school.
And Stone, is that real?
Stone, yep, Stone is the family name. It's, I don't remember the entire phrase, but I have French-Canadian ancestry, and it was a French name that meant miller of the stone. And Lapierre is stone in French. So until my great-grandfather, I think, moved to Worcester, Massachusetts, the family name was Lapierre, and I would have been Adam Lapierre had things been different. But
so you are Adam Stone?
Yes.
Okay. So, back to the question. Yeah. What is Aug Stone?
What is Aug Stone?
And is that a different question to who is Aug Stone?
That could get quite philosophical, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I would think they're more similar question than a question of difference. And as far as who I am...
No, I don't want to go.
Or what I am.
I want to keep to what.
Okay, so what implies more action? What
What if I was to have if I was to come from outer space and look down and see this creature moving around, thinking, what is that? You're obviously male, I think,
Yes.
and from the accent, you're North American.
American, yes.
American.
Yes,
Well,
but
North or South American, yeah.
But a rabid Anglophile.
A rabid Anglophile.
People have used the phrase rabid Anglophile. Here feels like home to me in a way I can't explain. Except the first time I ever came to the UK, we flew into London in July 1992. And as soon as I set foot on the ground, I had this feeling that I was home, and I cannot explain it, and I've never shaken that since. And I've been here a lot. I lived here between 2005 and my visa ran out at the end of 2012, and I had to go back.
You can get a green card.
I couldn't, no. But I managed to come for 3.5 months the past few years, but this past stretch, last time I was here was in October, and then it's been 6 months since I was here, and things have kind of gotten settled more. Where my family is, I have a job there, a bunch of new friends I've made since I've moved back, and I was worried on the flight over that what if I came and it felt different this time. But as soon as I was through the passport check, I just felt like myself again. I knew I was where I needed to be, and this whole trip has felt like that. It's fantastic.
Okay, so rabid Anglophile, that was your words, wasn't it? When did that start then? When, at the age of 5, 6, 8, 16?
I think I became more as a teenager, but growing up, my mother's record collection was a huge influence on me.
So it was pop music as opposed to football.
Yeah, oh yeah. I know nothing about
Okay.
football. But I've decided I should support Augsburg FC recently. Augsburg, the German football club.
Okay.
Simply because they bear my name. But yeah, my mother's favorite band of all time is the Beatles, and she would play them constantly, along with her Motown 45s growing up. So I mean, obviously there was some connection from there. And when I discovered my own musical tastes, actually, it's a bit of a digression because my own first love is Van Halen. Very, very American. That was the first time I fell in love with a pop band on my own and felt that this is my thing. And then I guess I also loved Iron Maiden as well, a little after that. But when I was 14, Johnny Marr was getting a lot of coverage in the guitar magazines at the time for his playing on the Mind Bomb album. And I read a lot about this, and I thought, this sounds really, really interesting. I really want to, hear this. And, it was 1989 at the time, and I was in suburban America. And I rode my bike to the local record shop, and I really wanted to get Rank, because that was the record they were talking about, the Smiths live record. And the only Smiths cassette they had at the local record shop was the first album. And I bought it, and I brought it home, and I immediately put it on my Walkman. I remember lying in bed, put my Walkman on. And I thought Rio Around the Fountain was the most beautiful song I had ever heard. It had melodies that harkened back to the music my mother would play me growing up. And it took me a month until I heard the rest of the first Smiths album, because I would just constantly sit there and rewind to hear Rio Around the Fountain. And from there, it led me to discover a whole host of other British music. And Joy Division and the Jesus and Mary Chain were huge influences on me growing up. And in 1992, when I flew over, it was just when Honey's Dead by the Mary Chain had come out. And I still consider Far Gone Now one of my favorite songs of all time. I'm very 60s influenced, but with noisy guitars.
But then how do you jump from Van Halen to all of that stuff? Because it's a world apart. Everything about Van Halen is a celebration of American culture.
Yes.
Absolutely and utterly.
Yep.
And I know nothing about Van Halen other than just,
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a huge, huge jump. Though my friend David Ryder Prangley has a theory that Van Halen and the Smiths are, in essence, the same band. They have an iconic frontman and a guitarist who changed the face of the way the instrument was thought of being played. And lots of people would disagree with that, but those two bands were, sort of had a huge part of forming who I am. And I think, I always say this, my life would have been very different had I not discovered the Smiths, because I was very much thinking I would go on to be part of this American party atmosphere and culture that Van Halen symbolized. But hearing the Smiths put me in touch with my sensitive side, for better or for worse. And that was definitely a callback to all the great 60s music that my mom played, and all that, this idea of love and pop music being inextricably linked. Whereas with Van Halen, there wasn't so much love.
what is? I mean, in Van Halen, I just imagine is, party time. This kind of celebration of cars and speed and with inverted commas, chicks. I'm saying that with inverted commas. That whole, hey, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I that's what life seemed like it was going to be like for me. Like that was it. That was America in the 1980s. I don't know. What was the question again?
The question is, what is Aug Stone? And we're getting the answer. Things are coming through here. I mean, there's things I'd argue with you. I'd say without Will Sargent, you wouldn't have, what's he called? The guitarist.
Eddie Van Halen?
Not Eddie Van Halen.
The guitarist is Eddie Van Halen.
No, the guitarist from the Smiths.
Oh, Johnny Marr.
Johnny Marr.
Okay.
And I have to add here, there was once at Top of the Pops. I think this was the first time the Smiths were on Top of the Pops and the Bunnymen were on, and he was beside himself that he could actually speak to Will Sargent. So I've got to put that in.
Okay. And that's a strange juxtaposition. Is that the word I'm looking for? Because how I would have known the Bunnymen was from the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. very much an American film.
Yeah.
But not, the music was not the 80s party music. It was great British songs,
Well,
really.
I haven't seen the
The
film, so
Bunnymen,
I don't
yeah.
really know, so I can't really comment.
So we got it in a very different form than what it actually was.
So what year was this then? This when did you get the cassette? This
1990.
1990. Yeah. So would you have had the haircut to go with being into Van Halen at that point or not? Or what age did you say you were then?
I guess I was 14. Yeah.
14. So would you have been allowed to have grown your hair?
No, I wasn't allowed to grow my hair, but I had it not quite a mullet, but like, down past the ear in the back, but over the ear in the front. And I remember using lots of hairspray in the morning before going to like junior high school, because that's what like Motley Crue and Poison and all of them did. It just seemed, I don't know, it's bizarre to think back on it now, but
But Iron Maiden must have seemed so unglamorous. They're so dourly British, and even the music is not a fast car. It's more that darker European.
Yeah, I had gotten.
metal.
I bought Somewhere in Time when it came out in 1986, but I didn't really get into Iron Maiden until, I guess, 88 or 89. And I got really into Iron Maiden. I mean, I it coincided with puberty and lots of angst and just, angst and anger that heavy metal was very much an outlet for lots of young boys. And I also got what do you call it? Glandular fever over here. And I was very sick, and I missed a lot of school, and I was bedridden. I just watched MTV and listened to my cassettes. And yeah, my friends would occasionally visit, but I was very much kind of on my own, listening to all this, heavy metal music. And
Go on.
And this is big. I would buy their video cassettes as well of their live performances, and they always had the Union Jack flying. And so I made a point to buy a Union Jack to hang in my bedroom at age 13, which
because of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, because of Iron Maiden, which somehow set me on this trajectory to get here.
What were you reading at that point or not? Or did reading not kick in until you left school?
I loved reading when I was a bit younger than that. And then I kind of lost track of it. I would read lots of music biographies, but then I met a girl when I was 19 who was very much into reading fiction, and she would say, "Oh, you should read this book and tell me what you think of it. I'm reading it." And not only, she probably the person who had the biggest influence on my life, and that was a huge influence because I remembered my love of literature and very much set me back to becoming a writer, which I am today.
A love of literature at the age of 19?
Yes.
So had you left school by then?
No, I went to Boston University to study business management because that's what my father wanted me to do. I had always wanted to go to music school, not just to, learn more about playing the guitar, but also it was kind of, there was no way I wasn't going to go to university, but I knew I should do something practical with it, so I wanted to study music production or music business or something. I really wanted to go to the Berklee School of Music, but also to take advantage of learning to play my instrument better. And this was a huge subject of contention with my parents through my teenage years. And I finally just lost the fight, gave up the fight when I was 17, and which all had huge repercussions. But I went to Boston University to study business because my father was like, "You should do this." And I was very, very depressed. It was not for me, and I was in a situation where I felt I had to be there. I would have felt an enormous sense of guilt toward my family had I not. But my second year at school, I also discovered I entered social life a bit more, and had this wonderful group of friends. And we just stay up all night and sleep all day. And when it came time to register for my classes for the third year, and there's 4 years at American University, I woke up at 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon for about a month and a half. Every day should have been, had already registered for my classes. So by the time I realized this, about a month and a half too late, I went down to register, and none of the business classes I needed to take were open, but I still had 4 electives. So I took 3 literature classes. Well, 2 literature classes, a poetry class, and that girl who introduced me to a love of reading again said, "You should take this existentialism class with me." And when I started school the next year, it was the first time I had my own apartment with, sharing with friends, but living outside of the dorms. And I loved those classes. I loved reading. I loved studying it.
So what was the first book that this girl, this unnamed girl, got you into that you read that really sort of flipped something in you?
Transponding.
Transpotting.
Yeah. I remember seeing the film and then going to buy the book the very next day. My friend was driving me. We were going to see Social Distortion at a club in Northern Connecticut, about an hour away. And I was like, but we have to stop at Barnes & Noble. I have to get this book. And I read it in the car on the drive. She had recommended, there's one I'm missing. I wish I could remember this. But Naked Lunch, I had read that before that because she was reading it. And it didn't really inspire me as far as making literature went, but it was an interesting book. It was definitely shocking. And then I just sort of, explored the bookstore a bit more. And I remember picking up London Fields that summer, right after reading
Okay,
Trainspotting.
before we get to so Trainspotting,
Yeah.
how did you get on? How did you get on with the language?
In the American edition, there's a glossary in the back,
Okay,
which
good.
was much needed.
I was wondering if maybe they translated it, but I guess the glossary at the back would do.
Yeah.
Are you aware that there's a new book about to come out where he's taken a couple of the characters and brought them up to date to now?
Again, because he did that in Porno, which
He
was
did,
excellent, I thought.
But there's another one. There's one that's just about to come out.
I wasn't aware of that. I'd be very interested to read
And
it.
I only heard it by accident. I heard Irvin being interviewed on the radio last week or the week before.
Okay.
So then that got you into reading. That opened up a whole other thing of the direction of your life. So you got a degree?
I do, yeah.
And what was that in then?
English literature with a business administration minor.
Okay. Now I think that's the first question done. That is, people, whoever ever watches this, that is.
Well, we haven't
That's
even
all
touched
done.
about my making music myself.
Hey, you don't know what the other questions are.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
Sure.
There's only 40 minutes, so there's 4 questions. What is love?
What is love?
Yeah.
Ooh. The greatest thing. And for me, love is inextricably linked to pop music. I always say there's something about a really great song that's very similar to the feeling you have when you first kiss someone you've really fancied for quite a while. And that sort of euphoria has always been with me. I remember just hearing really great records and that sort of enormous feeling is always present at a really great first kiss.
So what's the difference between that and lust and infatuation and love? What's the difference? There are 3 things there.
Infatuation probably implies a sort of willful naivety. Lust is a self-centered quest, whereas love is probably perfect sharing.
But before that first kiss, before that whatever, you don't know. Surely it's just projection.
Yeah, you don't know, but when you're having first kiss and that immediate sensation at the parting of the lips right after, you would feel it. You would know one way or the other. Or maybe I'm grandizing it too much, but yeah.
And you see, I'm obviously allowing pop music to come in. See, I didn't. What about that is the height, the first kiss. So much pop music, literature is all about are they gonna kiss? Are they gonna kiss? It's that moment. And in film you can see in the look in the eye that that's what the director's building up. If they can keep it going if they can keep it, in Jane Austen, it's like 3/4 of the book is building up to the first kiss. Is that thing? And as if that's it now, folks. Reader, I married him. or whatever but the thing is, what happens then? First kiss, what happens? I don't mean, and then you go to, and then this go to the bedroom. I don't mean that. I mean, is that the peak of love?
No, it shouldn't, or at least it shouldn't be.
Well, of course it shouldn't be. But when you align it to pop music, because in pop music, pop as opposed to more introspective singer-songwriter stuff, and you've chosen the word pop. You know, that's a word that's part
all
of
capitals,
Aug Stone.
exclamation point.
Yeah. And I understand. I know, and I know.
No, because there will be later kisses when you know the person even better. If it's right, that will be even better.
Okay.
There's that initial excitement, but love, I guess love is a continuation of that initial excitement, even through a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't seem like it. Love will
Tear us apart. Is that a good film? Closer? Is Closer a good film?
It's been so long since I've seen it. I remember visually, it was a very nice film.
Is it a better film than 24-Hour Party People?
Whew. I'm sure you can compare them, but I'm not sure I would.
Both are films drawing upon, using as, using Manchester in a certain era and a certain...
But Closer was more of a focus on one
Of course,
thing, and
yeah.
24-Hour Party People was the wider scene. Yeah, it's been too long since I've seen them to really make...
Is there any love in Transponding? Or is it just weakness?
Just weakness?
Weakness.
Ooh. There's a lot of lust in Transponding. There's no love that I remember.
Is Transponding the book better than Transponding the film?
Yes, but that would probably be the argument. The book is always better than the film, but I think if there was one where you would have a very close race, Transponding would be the one. And it was weird too, because I didn't realize at the time that it was supposed to be set in the 80s, because it came out in the mid-90s and it had all this great music.
Yeah.
But it was the music that we were all listening to at the clubs in Boston. So it seemed like it could be very contemporary. Like we hadn't, not moved on, but that was still very much, the music was still very much a part of our lives. And not knowing much about Scotland at that time, I just assumed it was set at the time it came out.
Yeah.
It was very strange growing up, or yeah, I guess the whole of my 20s, there was a certain Anglophile community in Boston, and whereas at one point it seemed like every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night there were different Britpop clubs that we would go to. It was like 60s soul and Britpop, where almost every night of the week we would go and dance to, what was happening. It was very different from how it was over here, where it was a national sensation. And I remember going to see Pulp, finally getting to see them in Hyde Park, 2012, I guess, and really understanding what they meant as a band. Whereas before, I was listening to them on my own in Boston, and maybe 20 other people would really know what I was talking about, or like 100 people at the most at these clubs we would go to would be dancing them, but it wasn't, they were never on the radio, they would never be played in any mainstream club or anything like that.
Is love more intense? You're in a bedroom, you're in your own bedroom, and you're playing records, or you're playing tracks. And that relationship you have with the track, is that more intense than the relationship you can have with a physical, real person?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Because the track will always be perfect as it is. It won't change. It's only you won't have interaction with it, whereas with the person, it's all about interaction. I remember this popped in my mind when you asked me that. A girl I was very much in love with 15, 16 years ago. We were over my house in my bedroom one night, the night we first said I love you to each other, in fact, and she asked me, she said, play me your favorite song. And I played her Sometimes by the Jesus and Mary Chain, which was a B-side of Far Gone and Out. And as soon as I put it on, like I always considered it one of my favorite songs, I very much realized at that point it wasn't. It's a great song, it's fantastic, but like in that moment I was like, this doesn't answer, this doesn't show her my favorite song. And so I put on New Order Substance at Temptation, which is very much one of my favorite songs of all time, and still is.
So are you mixtape generation?
Yeah, very much. I love the mixtape. There's so much that went into it. Having the two sides is something you just don't get with a CD. So,
and is that part of a new relationship for you, or a burgeoning,
very much
sharing music?
Yeah. I once, in my pursuit of a girl, made her 6 mixtapes, which she very much appreciated, but we only ever really kissed. It's a fantastic kiss, that first kiss, but yeah.
So to write great pop that deals with that rush, do you think you have to have experienced it yourself, or do you think actually maybe it's better that you've never experienced it and it's just all exists in the head?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think you have to have experienced it. I'd like to hear people's efforts who haven't experienced it, because there's probably something there.
Okay, something like, and obviously I'm coming from a different generation to you, but Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which I've cited to myself on numerous times as the ultimate pop record in some ways, pop song. Do you think whoever wrote those lyrics has to have felt that feeling, that they're in the moment, they can't stop themselves, there's all this, but also this part in their head thinking, but tomorrow morning, what am I going to be feeling? Am I going to be feeling used?
Yeah, I love that song too. I've karaoke'd it many a time. But no, I don't think they necessarily have had to. I mean, from knowing how those songs were written, they were just sort of churned out.
Cynically written.
Or they were done for hire. They were.
I know, but that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm asking. Well, that something like that is so gets it, so understands something, but would have just been two people in Brill Building, New York, thinking, okay, so what can we write that's going to connect with a teenage audience?
Kingsley Amis once wrote about the feeling when writing poetry that he worded it really well. I can't remember his exact words, but he said that always when the feeling is gone is when you can actually write about it, and write well about it. That's the point. Write well, because when you have that feeling, it's gonna be shit. Like the art coming out of it, you won't be able to make it a good poem. Like your feelings sort of override their artistic integrity. So I guess there's a balance. There has to be a balance.
Does Morrissey ever write about love? Are any of his songs love songs? Are any of his songs love songs?
Aren't they all love songs?
To a physical other being?
Yeah, I would assume. I always assumed.
Okay.
At least that's the way I took them. But I mean, as a youth, that's very much what I wanted them to be as well.
Will you be in love tomorrow? And tomorrow you can either think in actually when you wake up tomorrow, or in tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Is it something you think will carry on, or do you think it's a physical thing that just fades, that we've evolved to feel love at a certain stage in our life to trap us into something?
Ooh.
Is that the cynicism of age coming from the questionnaire?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I will personally be in love tomorrow, but I would love to have love in the future.
Okay.
I'm very precious with the word as well. I remember when I was 18, caught up in the excitement of a girl when I first moved to Boston and telling me she loved me. I told her that I loved her too. And I very much felt that for a while, but then when we broke up, I realized that it wasn't really the case. It was more being swept away with excitement. And I vowed to myself I would never use the word again. I would never say I love you to someone else until I really meant it. And I really meant it the night I was listening to New Order with that girl.
And not the B-side of B-side of Jesus and Mary Chain.
Yeah.
That night you're talking.
That night.
Yeah. Okay. What was the New Order song? Did you say?
Temptation.
Okay, I can't remember the lyrics to that. Can you quote me one line from that lyrics?
Oh, you've got green eyes, or you've got blue eyes, or you've got green eyes.
I know the song. Yeah. Okay, I've got to see what my next question is.
Okay.
What is journalism for?
For me, it's very much, I've always got that feeling of excitement, and it's wanting to share it, and it's like, you've got to hear this. One of my best friends when I was a teenager, John McCann, always tells that when I first heard PIL's Metal Box, or second edition as it was known as, the CD that I bought it, I immediately drove over to his house.
So it wasn't in the metal box?
It wasn't, no.
No. Okay.
I immediately drove over to his house and said, you need to hear this. And we sat there. And Albatross, that first song on that, I've only been able to listen to that record 2 times in its entirety, all the way through. Because it's tough going. Like, you've got to want to do it. Beautiful stuff mixed in there, like pop tones or Radio 4. But to sit through the first 9 minutes of Albatross is an accomplishment that you might not want to accomplish. So I still very much feel that with journalism. It's this excitement that I want to tell the world that their lives will be much better for having this record or this book or seeing this film, having them in their lives.
So for journalism for you it's linked in with the arts in the broader sense. It's not about exposing the White House or...
Yeah, I don't think that's for me, though it will be interesting if that's true, because I had my Chinese star chart read last year, and the man who did it, Richard Ashworth, who's a fantastic Feng Shui man, really, like, from what he told me from just, my birth details, was amazing. And at one point he said, there will be some political writing in your future. And I said, I really can't see that, because I feel I don't know enough about politics to actually write about it well, or to venture forth an opinion I could support fully. And he just went, well, I think it's inevitable. But I'm still not interested in writing about politics. I'm very interested in exploring the arts much more, as well as healthy eating, which has become a very big obsession of mine in the past few years. More by necessity than choice. I've had to really...
So you write about that as well?
Yeah, I had a couple of blogs going, and I would like to actually publish in places where people will read it. Because, I quit drinking 4 years ago now, and I gave up dairy about 5 years ago, finally admitting that I'm lactose intolerant, and I gave up gluten about 3 years, and I feel just hundreds of times better for all of them. I was very unhealthy, up until I was 36 years old. And this is weird how it ties back into pop music, because all those things that I love, sugar, caffeine, alcohol, cheese, give you
that rush.
An instant rush.
Yeah.
And about a few weeks ago, I actually posted on Facebook, will there come a time where I will have to cut out, and I worded it specifically as major key pop music for my own health, spiritual, emotional health, much like I've had to do for my physical health. And then I spent the rest of the week listening to Bitches Brew in a silent way, which are records that I love, but...
They're no pop.
No. And I don't understand them as well as when you hear jazz people talking about jazz and all its complicated stuff. I just know that I like it. I love the sound. It definitely makes me feel something, not just sort of instant rush like pop music, but...
And does that go back to kind of Blue and Miles Ahead, or is it that period?
That period is my favorite, and Yeah, I mean, Kind of Blue as well is up there.
Yeah.
It's different with Miles. Like, there's little bits here and there with Miles that I like, but as far as whole albums go, yeah, Bitches Brew. It's very interesting. When I first came to the UK in July 1992, I was reading Miles's autobiography, and so I decided I would bring it with me on this trip. And then when I got here, there's all the posters up for the Miles film coming out. But what inspired this was talking to my Feng Shui guy again. He brought up a story about Herbie Hancock playing with Miles, I think in Stuttgart, and they were playing So What off Kind of Blue, and Herbie hit just this chord that was just like he cringed and said he wanted to crawl under his keyboard.
It was the wrong chord.
Yeah, it was completely the wrong chord in his mind. But he watched Miles, and Miles just took a quick breath and then played notes that made that chord right.
Okay.
Which says a lot about Miles as a generous musician.
Didn't sack him on the spot.
No, and Herbie's interpretation is that Miles didn't hear it as the wrong chord. He just heard it as a chord to do something with. Whereas I, in that situation, would think Miles probably knew it was a wrong chord, but knew also that he could fix it. And Miles said, he said two things: that there are no wrong notes, and actually what determines a wrong note is what comes after it. Which I think as a principle to apply to life is a great thing to keep in mind as well.
Okay, to get back to journalism and pop music. Okay, I'm going to do the pop journalism first. Now, you've talked about writing about things positively.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get a kick out writing about things negatively, taking things apart?
No, not at all. I really very much don't like doing that, and something I have to force myself to do.
At times.
Yeah, to not just be effusive. This is great, because after a while I don't think anyone would take me seriously if I just, everything is great, because everything obviously isn't. But
and the fact that you actually play music yourself, do you feel like it gives you more of an understanding of the music you're writing about, and or writing literature? Well, I haven't talked about literature yet, but
yeah, I think obviously it does. Just you're familiar with what's happening. But
and what's being attempted and what's. So to go back to what you're saying about Miles, then, in pop music, it has to work. To be pop music, all caps, it has to work within a very, very tight parameter.
Mm.
So the Miles quote, whatever the Miles quote was, there are no wrong notes. That is not the case in pop music. It's you're working within a very tight structure, and it's understanding that and accepting that and knowing that to work within that thing is these are the parameters, and you've got to somehow get the genius to happen within that. Whereas Miles is about breaking that all down.
Mm. I remember reading that early Can was like that, though, that they would set themselves very precise limitations to work with. And obviously it wasn't pop music, and it would stretch to well past 3 minutes, 30 seconds, but it was very much, I think that's such a very helpful thing to do, know what the limitations are, and then you work from that. Because even within a set of limitations, there's an infinite amount of possibilities.
Yeah, well, of course there are. Yeah. What are you going to do with your life?
It's a good Bunnymen reference. I'm going to become me.
Very good. And have you've just turned 40?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday? Day before yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
That's too old for pop music now, eh?
Some would say. Most would say.
Is pop music going to feature, the making of pop music going to feature in
Yes.
the rest of this life?
Yeah, it has to. And there's been plenty of times I've tried to not, to become more practical with my life. And then songs will come to me in dreams. Or I'll on the edge of sleep and I'll feel compelled to get up and sing them into my dictaphone at like 3 a.m. And it's not a very healthy way to do it. It's very much disturbing, any sort of pattern you try and get yourself into. But every time I've tried to not make music anymore, it's come back even stronger, and I've written my better songs. And I don't have much time for music these days because I'm writing every minute I'm not at work. But songs come, and
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and playing them is one of the best feelings on earth. Like, whenever I have the chance to, I always appreciate doing it.
Playing them to who, what?
Just sitting in my room playing them on acoustic
Why
guitar is amazing. But with other people, like with everything, with other people, it's always the best.
Wow. I've never experienced that.
Really?
I've never, ever, ever sat and played the whole of a song that I've written by myself.
Huh.
I've only ever done it because I had to do it. I think. I had to learn it. I said, oh shit, I've got to go and learn. I've got to learn this now. But I don't want to bring myself into this.
Okay.
So the pop music, whether you like it or not, is going to carry on.
Yeah. I've got this new project, Aug Stone and the Love Conspiracy, because months ago on Facebook I just posted, I'd really love to make a soul album sometime. My friend Keith Top of the Pop said, do it, you have no reason not to do it. And I could tell how forceful he was being just over his
And is soul, when you use the word soul, is that a retrospective type of word to be using?
Yeah,
what is soul? Is that Marvin Gaye circa early 70s? Or is it Tamla Motown or Stax in the...
Yeah.
Or is it modern R&B?
Not so much modern R&B with me, but there's a Barbara Lynn song, You Left the Water Running, Northern Soul song that I absolutely love. I can only name 2 examples, but it seems that there's a lot more soul songs where they're in their flat and it seems to be flooding and they check all the taps, but they realize that no one's left the water on it. They're crying because their lover has left them. I love that idea. I'd love to write a whole album of just 10 songs based on that idea.
So you use the phrase more Northern Soul, but that's only a British phrase because it was American R&B from the 60s played in clubs in the UK in the 70s up north.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously, I've been over here
enough times to know that.
Yeah, to go to Northern Soul clubs and love the music and go out searching for all the compilations I could find. But again, like everything I do, if I'm gonna write a soul album, it'll end up sounding very pop. And these 2 songs I've got now sound, they're just pop songs. We'll try and play them in a soul.
But in the Northern Soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the feel right, but they're very much pop songs.
So no disco on the hi-hat.
It'll be so tempting. I love the disco on the hi-hat, but yeah, probably not.
And the fact that a white man's singing it, so it doesn't matter.
That never occurred to me.
Okay.
It'll be just songs I've written that I'm going to do.
And does the success of those records, whatever you're doing, whatever form these things take, does that matter to you?
No. It used to. I mean, that's what I very much focused my 20s and early 30s on. But I never had any...
attempting pop success.
Yeah. But I never had any success in pop music.
Well, why not? Did you choose not to?
I don't think I worked hard enough. And I worked very hard, but I just... I guess maybe I had too many romantic ideas about how it's actually done. I thought I wrote some great songs, but that's only a little part of it as to having pop success. But whereas I tried really hard with that and nothing came of it, when I started writing I noticed, I wouldn't say I've had success, but I mean I've gradually built on my writing, so it's more and more noticed these days. And that's the way it's been all along. So
back to the question, what are you going to do with your life? Do you think the writing is going to be more?
Yes. And
I don't mean the journalism writing, I mean
Off License to Kill. Yeah, I'm working on another book right now, which is great. Forcing myself to do it. Like, I read an interview with Jodorowsky recently who said if you want to organize your life, you have to organize your time because your time is your life. And he said if you're going to write, you need to say, I'm going to write between this hour and do it every day. And Robert Anton Wilson said that the same thing. No matter what you want to do it every day. If you want to be a writer, write every day, and then you're a writer. So every morning, I try to get in at least an hour on writing, which is nowhere near enough time, but it's enough time to get things going and keep it going. If you
What time do you start?
10 a.m. I work. Today I worked till like 12:30, which is really nice.
And is there a word count?
Of what is that so far?
What do you set yourself so many words every day?
No, I used to. Anthony Burgess tried to do 1,000 words a day, which I think is a good goal to have. But I probably should do that.
That used to be my thing.
Yeah.
I'd write 5 days a week, 1,000 words a morning. This was after I was making pop music. That'd be it, strict. I'd go somewhere and I'd write. But I don't think of myself as a writer. I think of myself as somebody, I'm not a chef, but I cook meals. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm letting myself slip in now. That's bad. That's bad.
That's good.
No. No, but I think, but you are right. You got to just.
Yeah.
But there are times, and I've experienced this in the past year, where one is so excited about what one's writing. I could almost write 24 hours a day. I mean, obviously I can't write 24 hours a day, but it's just, and I can't stop myself.
Mm.
And there are other times when I'm writing something at the moment and I really, really want to do it, but it is so difficult. I'm sitting doing it, I'm doing it. But just getting the right words is so difficult.
Yeah. Well, I notice first thing I do is I always reread what I did the day before, and there's always changes to be made much better. And I mean, at least that's moving it forward in production, even if like nothing more is coming. But yeah, that's...
Have you ever written longhand?
Yeah, I love writing longhand.
Because that's what up until, it's only in the past 2, 3, 4 years maybe, that I haven't written everything longhand first and then typed it up. And that was because of lack of, I couldn't do it. I couldn't work on it. I'd have to sit in a cafe just writing longhand. And I'm worried in myself that somehow that change of process, it's just all too easy when you're on there. But you don't find that's not a problem for you.
All too easy?
All too easy when you're doing it on a laptop or PC or whatever, and you got Google there, so you can check everything and sometimes I think, oh my God, what is this? It's just it's complete just outpouring of shit. Whereas when you're writing longhand, you can't cross out, or you can cross out. It's a lot harder to.
Yeah, it is a lot harder.
And I don't know which is best. So tell me. I'm asking some advice here. I'm turning this into a therapy session.
I would say using a laptop is better because you can check your facts, which is very important, and do the research you need. It's right there for you.
Yeah.
But always having some sort of notebook and pen on you is vital. I guess these days you can talk it into your phone and whatnot. And I do that occasionally if I don't have the time to write in a day, because I'm traveling somewhere, in America you drive everywhere, I will force myself to not have the stereo on and keep my phone on and just talk what I want for the hour.
And not have the stereo. You don't write with music on at the same time, do you?
No.
Okay.
No. But I mean, usually if I was driving, I would be listening to CDs. But if I need to write, it's off and I'm talking to my phone the ideas I need to go over that day.
Okay, and if you were told, all right, you can either write or you can make music. At the age you're at now, 40, and you got this the rest of your life there, what are you going to do? The gun's here.
I'd make a film.
Okay.
See, well, that's one thing I really want to do with the rest of my life. I've written a book, I've made some records, but a film I haven't done, and I love film, and you would combine, you know.
Direct film.
Yeah, right and direct.
Right and direct.
I guess to actually answer your question, I would write. The ideal would be to write in the morning and make music at night, which has been my ideal for at least 20 years, and it never works out that way, because usually you get so excited about the writing, you keep going. Is it the time you need to make music, or vice versa? So I find it impossible to achieve a balance there, but that's what I'd really like to do.
That's the end of the interview now.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.